Lloyd Vehicle Consulting, not sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. Good afternoon. Today is the 11th of November and this is part 4 of a slightly shambolic shuffle around the 2022 Classic Motor Show at the NEC in Birmingham, sponsored by Lancaster Insurance. This is Hall 8. We did a little bit of filming in Hall 8 earlier, but we're actually going to concentrate in this part on all the Fords in Hall 8. There will be probably an additional part with more Fords, so there's a lot of Fords in here. This is a beautiful 1983 Capri Mark III 2-litre S. It's owned by Dan, who you might have seen on my channel before. A few years ago I filmed his 2.8 injection that he had at the time. He doesn't have it anymore, but he's got two other Capris. Another one I've filmed as well, which is a 1.6 laser that's just been restored. This is an amazing car in terms of the history and the condition of it. It's done about 10,000 miles, and here is the original receipt from March 1983. This car was built in 82 but registered in 83. It's relatively late for an S. The S is finished entirely in 1984. The colour actually looks a lot brighter on video than it is in real life. It's not really as orange as it is. It's not as red as that, which is another photograph of the car. It's not as orange as it looks on video. It's more of a sort of darker shade. But it's very nice indeed. And this is the Capri Club International stand, which has all sorts of interesting things on it, like Atari games, and there's an MB Logic 5, and those are the sort of TVs you would have had in the early 80s and things like that, which is interesting. Yeah, Stan's worked very hard over the last few days to bring the stand and his car up to the standard, which of course is amazing. So thank you, sir. So other stuff on the stand is this late Capri laser. This is 86 2-litre laser. Production of the Capri actually finished for good in December 1986. And this is an 86 registered car. There is actually an even later laser that I know of, that I saw in 2019, owned by a chap called Jason, which I think the last laser ever registered, which is on an 87 plate. The last Capri registered was in 1989, so it's a long way from that, but relatively late. Got one here. This is a GT40 Group B race car replica. Let's just see what it is here. Oh, it is a V8. It's a 289 V8. Tremec T5 transmission. So it's a replica of an earlier V8 powered Capri. Piranha, of course, yes, we use sort of V8 powered things like Capris and Granadas and things like that. 5-speed gearbox. So the standard of this little stand here is just amazing. Like so much else which is actually in this hall. It's not entirely Fords, I don't think. There are some other things in here, but we love classic Fords in this country. A lot of you love classic Fords, and so this is why we're here. Very late Mark II Capri here. The Mark III was launched in March 1978. This one was actually registered in December 1977. So yes, for a Mark II it's quite late. But even by this stage, in the first series of professionals, you do see two late Mark II Capri. So we're still obviously promoting them until then. And then in June 78 there were a couple of, I think, sort of very early Mark III supplied to the production. Got a Mark 1 here. This is very early Mark 1 because they came out in 69, and that's a 69 only registration, so it's a very, very early one. It's 1300 XL. I think the 1300 was the smallest engine ever offered with these. I think it's the old Kent engine from what I remember actually in these. So we don't just have a mark, we just sort of look in here though, but I can sort of get a bit closer. Just, yeah, amazing condition. And I've got even more stuff over here, but this is going to be a very, very high standard like everywhere, I think. Let me just pause a second, just to switch hands. Okay, so Escort RS Cosworth. Let's have a look at the dash and see if this is one of the earlier or the later ones. It's one of the later ones. It's got an airbag. Still got though this sort of enormous rear spoiler. Was that the original sort of look of the engine cover in V series? I don't actually know. Okay, so this is a 1995, but based on the Sierra platform rather than the front-wheel drive Escort platform. That's why the engine's actually mounted that way round. Ooh, and a Mark I Escort. It's a really early one. It's a March '68. Probably one of the very first ones, but I think they were launched right at the end of 1967. That's amazing, isn't it? So let's take a look. 68, it's 1100 popular. Yeah, anything that's in Mark I and Mark II Escort, particularly the two-door models, are really, really sought after now. Also, I think should be sought after is the Ford Probe. I actually really quite like these, based on the Mazda MX-6 and built in, I think, Flat Rock, Michigan is where they were made. They were supposed to sort of be a spiritual successor to the Capri, but they never really actually were. They didn't take off in the same way the Capri had done at all, which is a real shame. It's even shinier actually on video than it is in real life. So that one, I think it's a V6, this one. And so 1995-96. So this is a first generation Probe. We never got these in this country actually. We didn't get them at all. This is I think a US only model. But I've never seen one of these actually in real life. I've never seen one. So that's pretty interesting. Let's take a closer look at this, shall we? Someone's kind of left the window open. So this is an 88. There might actually be an 89 model year if manufactured in September. So it was imported to the UK in 1990. Look at this. Wow. It's great. It's a 2.2 litre engine. Very, very interesting. There we go. Very practical. Very high boot lip though. It's not the easiest thing to load. So here we go. Another Probe here, right-hand drive. This one's been modified a bit. Got some different wheels and things on here. And interesting bonnet. It's more kind of a Night Rider type bonnet, isn't it? Although Night Riders, of course, were Pontiac Firebirds, weren't they? Not Night Rider cars. 1982 Ford Fiesta XR2. I wonder if there's a Super Sport around here as well somewhere. Those didn't have the same engine actually. Well, that was being tuned by Harris Performance. So yeah, I think there was a 1.6 Kent engine in these. That wasn't the CV8, that was the Mark II. Again, that's in a really classic kind of colour, isn't it? Bit of a lower spec Mark I here. I wonder if this is even like a 950 or something like that. It's got a rear wiper, so it's got something, but not probably too much else. And there's the original invoice. So it's wow, it's a 950L. And so they bought two different cars. This is a really, really late Mark I Fiesta. And they got a discount on it of £476 because they then bought a Sierra that we can't talk about because it has a forbidden fuel engine, viewers, and we don't talk about diesels on this channel. There we go, yeah, so August 83. It's one of the very last of the Mark Is. By contrast, this is quite a late Mark II, registered August 1988. This has been modified for track use, hasn't it? Let's have a look at some more fast forwards by looking at the XR Owners Club stand here. It's a late Mark IV Escort XR3i, I think. I was getting confused between the wheels for the XR3i and the RS turbos. I get a bit confused about that kind of stuff. Another XR2 here, this classic red colour. And yes, here are actually 3 Super Sports. So these are the same Super Sports that were here last year. So these use a different engine. They're not the same as the XR2, which came later. These are a little bit earlier. There's the original brochure for it. There's a little friend in there with a little tie. There we go, yeah, 1.3 Super Sport. This one won a W, so 1980, 1981. That's also on W, but I imagine they're probably quite close in age altogether. Super Sport was like a limited production one, I think. So this one here is not the original engine, not the original 1.3. This has got a 1.7 litre engine in it. But again, on a W, they're all 80 to 81. And we've got opening quarter lights as well. That's dead fancy, isn't it? Very fancy. Ooh, is this a Sierra XR4i? There we go, there's a super sort of information, but we're looking at the XR4 right now on an A, so this will be 83, 84, driven 82 miles to get here. Excellent. I bet that was fun. So yeah, with different rear window treatment from the lesser 3-door Sierra. Let's see if we can actually have a photograph of a different 3-door on here. So there's one of these here, and there's a 5-door Sierra, later one, facelifted one. I think that's an XR4x4. Let's just see if we can find the different rear window treatment for the other 3-door. Maybe no. It's probably all going for the XRs, isn't it? So there's the XR8 up there, which is I think it was a V8. It's pretty crazy. So there we go. Yeah, XR 4x4. Blue headlights. Ooh, look at this. 2.9 XR 4x4 to be a later one. 516. Gosh. But you need to change the rear tyres on that sort of fairly frequently. Driven 16 miles to get here. So yes, it's 88, 89 on an F. It's before they brought in a sort of final facelift of these. So we'll look at some more extremely shiny Fords. The AVO Owners Club. Advanced Field of Operations. Okay, so we've got some nice 2-door Mark I Escorts here, and that looks suspiciously like a later Mark I Capri. You know, I'd be very careful with these, because if it's an RS3100, it'll still be badged as something else. So be very careful with these. Yeah, that looks like an RS3100 to me, particularly on the press plate, PU, classic Ford press plate back in the day. So yeah, RS3100 just has a 3000 badge on the side just there with V6 and a GT badge there. So it's got to be a bit careful with you. So that's what I learnt to my detriment at the 50th birthday of Ford Capri celebrations at Brooklands in 2019. Mark I Focus RS Owners Club. Just say what year it is. Gosh, it's like going into a showroom. They're so clean. Look at this. There's no wear or anything in that one. So there is Mr. McRae himself. Hello, sir. Just can't believe how nice these are. I think that's standard as well. I think that's all standard on there. Amazing. So Capri 280s. Now, when it has the sort of celebration anniversary on there, production of these actually finished in December 86. However, most of these would have been sold in 1987, and it does actually say finished on the 19th of December. So these would have been sold a little bit later. That cake looks very tempting, viewers, but I think I better restrain myself from having any. So I have actually filmed a 280, or 280 Brooklyn sometimes they're called, because the colour is Brooklyn's green, on the channel before in 2019. Because the brother of someone that I know actually owned one of these for a time. They're very, very valuable now, these cars. Funnily enough, at the time, it took ages to sell the last one. The last one registered in 1989, so they weren't particularly popular at that moment, but they certainly are now. So this is the Ford Cortina Mark III Owners Club. This one's a facelifted Mark III. Can't remember right now if the dashboard is actually different in this later one. It probably are. Looks a bit more like a Mark IV or something, doesn't it? The P, so 75, 76. See a sticker from a certain Welsh-based YouTube channel. Cortina XL. I wonder what bad, yeah, 1.6 XL. And then a car that I think I've seen on, I can't remember the channel I saw this on. I think it was for what car? Anniversary or something earlier this year I saw this one. It's a 2-door. I think this is an auto as well. 2-door GXL. I think this is the 2000, yeah. Yeah, I remember, yeah, auto. I think it's 3-speed auto in this. That's a very... Oh, that smells really nice. Someone's obviously been sort of waxing and polishing it. Oh, it's from Andover. It's not too far from where I live. That would explain the registration being of your local area. OT was sort of Hampshire area back in the day. OB Birmingham, going around the same time, also on a K. This is a GT rather than the GXL though. Again, the engine badge is on the side, it's a 2000 GT. It's convertible, it's a Crayford. That automatic gearbox would be out of a Sierra, I think, actually. It's got electronic fuel injection, so maybe the engine's been changed. Another 2-door Cortina. They're really going in for these, aren't they? Again, this is a Cologne V6, so that engine has most certainly been changed from standard. And this is a 3 litre, it says there. And that'll be a probably different gearbox to handle that power. Ooh, another GXL. Again, going for the sort of quite early ones here. It's a 2000 GXL with some different wheels on it. Let's have a look at some older Cortinas now. Some Mark I Cortina Owners Club. Ooh, prototype. Interesting. AR, of course, typical Ford registration back in the day for their own press cars and fleet cars. So it's a console badge one. Let's just have a look and see. Yep, so it's an early one. It's not got the free flow ventilation, but we can see on that later one there. And then we've got a Cortina Crayford. It's 1966. Happy 60th birthday, yes indeed. The Mark I was launched in 62. That's a 66, it's a late one, so is this. This is also a late one. It's a Mark I 4-door Deluxe. It's got the little vents on the rear pillars around the C pillars. It's only a 1200 though, that's the sort of most basic engine that they came with, I think. But that is in superb condition. We'll have a look at the Cortina 1600E Owners Club here. They always put on a good display, whether it's here or at Bromley Pageant actually. You often see them at Bromley Pageant. That's a later 169 to 70. Yeah, standard of the cars in here is ridiculous. If that's a genuine Mark II Cortina, it'd be worth an awful lot. So F, so 768. This one's been modified a little bit. Yeah, it definitely has been. If it's got a twin cam 16 valve turbo engine in it. Ford press fit though, interestingly, so on an H, so quite late 69 to 70. And then we've got the Mark I and Mark II Capri clubs that are here. '73 Capri 1600 XL. They're celebrating the launch of the facelifted Mark I Capri here, rather like that one in the photograph there. There's actually a facelifted Mark I Capri in the first episode of Sweeney. It was called Ringer, I think, from what I remember. Another facelifted one here is the 3000 GXL, sort of top of the range in terms of a luxury. Another 73. It's very nice, that one. Go this way. Take a look at this one, 1600. Little overtaking mirror, very wise idea there. Yeah, it's an XL. It's got sort of two completely different front ends actually, with the twin headlamps and then the quad headlamps. Let's have a look at some Mark IIs. Oh, this is 2 litres. I thought this was like a John Player Special originally, but it's not. It's just a 2 litre S. It's 77. Very nice. Still has that Capri 2 on it. Well, Capri 2 Git, that's a very, very early one if it's on an M. It'll be a 74 only. Martin Shaw actually appeared in the launch film for the Mark II Capri in 1974. You know, years before he was in the professionals. There we are, yeah, one of the very first, registered in March 1974. And there's another one here. This is an XL with the sort of like Mark II Cortina wheel trims on it. So this will be, yeah, this is 1600, so this is quite sort of low down the range, but still, it's immaculate, isn't it? There's everything else in here. Look at some Ford 100Es. It's a Ratlet one here. So it's a 1960 Ford Popular 100E. So this will be a pretty late one actually, because the 105E Anglia was out by then. So it's got a side valve replaced by another side valve. This is in sort of wedding car spec. This is a prefect, so a little bit earlier. Yeah, the Anglia was the 2-door, the prefect was the 4-door. 5-star motoring, I think we used to call it back in the day. It's quite a leap forward though from the earlier cars, the earlier smaller cars that Ford were making at the time. Sorry, this was my very steady hand there. 1961 Popular 100E is another late one. I think they finished in 61 entirely with this body style. Let's have a look at some Mark I Escorts. I think are these all 1300Es or something? Viewers. It could be. This is a typical colour that these came in actually. Really sort of reminiscent of the Cortina 1600E on the Mark IIs, but 2000E would be launched around the same time. Yeah, about 73, 74 with 2000D, I think, with the Mark III Cortina. It's funny, two of them say 1300E, one says 1300, maybe that's just a detail change. Oh, okay, so it's a Series 2 facelift. What exactly is the difference though? Oh, it's a Series 1, a Series 2. Struggling a little bit to apart. Let's have a look at the rear lights and see what's actually different. Let's take a look. I've no idea, viewers. Somebody in the comment section below tell me what the actual difference in the facelifted ones is, because I can't tell them apart, viewers. So I'm very sorry. I should be able to do that, but unfortunately I can't. What was it? 1300E Executive? What more did you get in the Executive? I don't know. Ooh, an RS2000. I do know what one of these is. Surprised it's taken me this long to actually see one of these for the videos, but yeah, that's how long it's taken. It's got a 5-speed gearbox on it, this one. So 7778. I got some Pumas. There's a racing Puma viewers. I think these are all racing Pumas, aren't they? They had a completely different engine in them from the others. They had a lot more power, for example. The standard 1.7s, and I have driven a 1.7 on No Budget Reviews earlier this year, they were about 123 horsepower. These are about 155, so they're an awful lot more powerful. And this one's having a good polish as well. So there we go, yes, 307E started off as the Thames, like this one, and then it became just the Anglia. This is a non-deluxe Anglia estate from 1967. The cars with the smaller grills like these two are quite rare. Most of the Anglias that survive of this series are 105E Anglias, with the deluxe version with the larger grille. The reason why the Thames name was changed was because when the Ford Transit came out in 1965, the previous Thames models hadn't been particularly well received. I think they wanted a sort of clean break from that and just be called Fords. And here we have some Anglia Deluxes and Supers. This is an Anglia Super, as you can see from the lettering on there. So it's a very late one, 67. I think the very last Anglias were actually on an F plate. Whoop, almost fell over there. Not quite though, views. I think this is just a deluxe, yeah, again with the full width grille. Again, 67. And here's an earlier one. 63. Bubbles, it's been modified. You can see Bubbles has got all sorts of lights and flared wheel arches and things like that. Interesting. So really old Fords here. Old school is right. Just old. So Ford V8. I don't know what year that is. I'm afraid, viewers. Ford V8 Pilot. Again, that could be either pre or post-war. I can't actually remember the actual build years for these and how to tell the pre and post-war ones apart. I do know that in The Blue Lamp, the film was made in 1950, but was a predecessor to Dixon of Dock Green. But did actually have a chase with a Ford V8 Pilot versus a Wolseley. So early Ford V8 clubs, again, don't know anything about these years. This is probably an American-built one, again, it's left-hand drive. And is that another V8 Pilot here? It certainly looks like it, doesn't it, viewers? Maybe just take a look inside when we're here. It's typical kind of 30s, 40s, isn't it, like that? Let's finish off this part by having a look at some Mark III Zephyrs and Zodiacs. Avoid tripping over here. 1964 Ford Zodiac. Don't know what exact year, but pre-suffix Zephyr 6 and Zephyr 4 had a different grille from those actually. The very early episode of Z cars had the Mark IIs, and then later in '62 they had the Mark IIIs come in. Again, another Zodiac here. Let's take a look through here. Very nice. And this is must be a Zephyr 4. Again, the grille is different on these. You can see it's got no sort of right in the middle. That's sort of Italian plate on that, I think. Interesting. Let's have a look at some others quickly. And the Mark I's 5 stars, just for Cortina, Zephyr and Zodiac. Which one is this? It's a Zephyr. So we're talking about the Iota cars here. So between 1950 and about 1956, I think, with these. Another Zephyr 6. I want to see a Zodiac though. Do we have a Zodiac here? We've got a Zephyr, Zephyr convertible here. Can't remember the name of the company that built these, but I think the estates were Abbots of Farnham. Like this one. I like the colour of this. That's very nice. Oh, and the Mark IIs here. We've got a console here. That was the sort of bottom range. The 3 Graces, we used to call them, as you can see in the advertising. Now, I completely do not understand the difference between the Highland and the low-line ones of these. I think one was early, one was later, but I never know what way round they are. And unless you part 2 of them side by side, I would not be able to tell you the difference, I'm afraid. Mark II Zodiac convertible. It's very, very kind of 1960, isn't it? Sort of late 50s, early 60s kind of interior colour and all this sort of very, very sort of American looking. Of course, Ford of America were a huge influence on the styling and general direction of these British Fords at the time as well. Another Abbots of Farnham conversion there, as you can see the little badge there. Some Zephyr Estate. And there we go, we have a look in there. Just trying to fall over anything, viewers. And again, I'm not going to take the sweets out of the box. It'll be very good today. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching part 4 of this slightly shambolic shuffle around the 2022 Classic Motor Show here at the NEC. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we will see you again soon for more maybe accurate, maybe inaccurate information. Lloyd Young Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.